If you happen to be in the market for a vehicle in 2024 and you're looking for a little bit more space than a sedan can provide you, well, the compact crossover SUV segment is going to be just for you. Now today we're going to take a look at one of the competitors in this segment that is just filled with great competition. This is the Hyundai Kona in the limited trim front wheel drive. Now we're going to take a look at this vehicle today and see what this vehicle has to offer, see where it stacks up against that competition in that compact crossover segment, and see if this vehicle is a good value at its starting price of under $32,000. Let's take a look. For 2024, we have an all-new design on the front end, the back end, as well as in the interior. Now, we do have a similar aesthetic to the previous generation where we have the headlights down below and the DRLs up top. Now, this one does have an LED light bar that goes all the way across. Very common in electric vehicles. Reason being is Hyundai designed this to be an electric vehicle, as they do have the Kona EV, but they carried on the same design or just used the same design for their gas-powered Konas. Now this is a limited trim, so you get the LED DRL that goes all the way across the hood, as well as projection LED headlights, turn signals, all of that goodies. All other trims don't get a full light bar going across and also get combination headlights. Now you have this big old flat metal Hyundai logo up here complementing this cyber gray metallic paint that this vehicle is equipped with. If we move down the front bumper, we have active grille shutters here that open up when it needs cooling and then close when they don't, as well as when you turn the vehicle off, these shutters close. You also have your surround view camera, front camera here. You have parking sensors on the front that work in combination with the cameras to give you a nice 360 surround view camera that we'll take a look at here in just a little bit. Down below, we do have this nice kind of gray metallic look on this plastic bumper down here. And this isn't an off-road vehicle per se, but if you happen to find yourself off-road, this does have 6.9 inches of ground clearance. Now, if you want more, you can go for the all-wheel drive version, which gets you 8.3 inches of ground clearance. So substantially more on the all-wheel drive, but again, this is not really an off-road vehicle, so keep that in mind when you are buying this. When we take a look at the side design of this Kona, let's talk about the elephant in the room in the styling department, and that is this black plastic cladding. Now in this limited trim, they do call it the premium black instead of just the black plastic. Now, if you're not a fan of this design and having all of this black plastic cladding going from the front end all the way to the back end down the side, you can go for the end line trim that gets paint color matched where this is just the black plastic. But they did incorporate this well into the design, so it really isn't too hard on the eyes as it does flow really well with all the other body lines. Now, talking about body lines, we have very aggressive body lines going down the side of the vehicle through the door handle all the way to the back door handle where it branches off and goes down at a 45-degree angle, giving this vehicle some really nice angles. Now at certain angles it does kind of remind me of the Lamborghini SUV, which is very weird to say because this is a Hyundai and that is a Lamborghini, but hey, styling cues are styling cues. Now starting from the front, we do have paint color matched mirror caps, LED turn signal embedded into the middle of the mirror, as well as a camera underneath, part of your 360 surround view that is standard on this limited trim. For our limited trim, we're going to get a 19-inch machine face black painted wheel. It's a very nice look and complements the futuristic EV type design that you get on the 2024 Kona. Now this wheel is wrapped in a 235/45/19 Kumo Majesty tire, and this is going to be the widest tire that comes on a Kona. Any trim below this, as well as the EV trims, have a thinner, smaller tire. Now in terms of suspension, you get McPherson independent front suspension, but you have torsion beam rear suspension as this is the front wheel drive. If you opt for that all-wheel drive, again, a $1,500 upcharge, you are going to get the independent rear suspension, which is going to help drastically in the handling and overall ride quality of the 24 Kona. Similar design to the front where we have the LED light bar going across the span of the front of the vehicle. Same goes for the rear where it spans from the driver all the way to the passenger side, or flip it around passenger side to the driver's side, but it is red instead of the white LED up front. Now we do have LED taillights. Every other trim, the SE, SEL, as well as the N-Line, is going to be a combination where it has the turn signal being incandescent bulb rather than full LED. Under the hood, you're going to find a 1.6 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission. This engine produces 190 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque, and when in the front-wheel drive configuration, gets you 26 city, 32 highway, and 28 miles per gallon combined. You can't get this in an all-wheel drive configuration. It's going to cost you an extra $1,500. Now this 1.6 liter and the 8-speed auto is one of two engine and trans options, as the SE and SEL trim gets you a 2-liter 4-cylinder naturally aspirated motor paired to a CVT transmission. You are going to get more miles per gallon, up to 31 miles per gallon in the SE front-wheel drive, but you are going to be sacrificing the power at 147 horsepower and 132 pound-feet of torque. Up in the front, we have 8-way power adjustable seats with power lumbar, which is important for me as I do have a bad back. We have heated and ventilated seats, heated leather wrap steering wheel, and the leather wrap steering wheel is standard on all trims minus the SE, which is the base trim. For legroom, we have 41.7 inches, headroom 38.3 inches, and a lot of creature comforts up here, including all of the tech that is in the cabin, and we'll talk about that here in just a minute. But overall, I find it very comfortable for someone my size. We have a manual adjustable steering column that is most of the time quicker than a power adjustable steering column. In the rear seats, you're gonna have 38.2 inches of legroom and 38.3 inches of headroom. Headroom is the thing that I struggle most with in these compact crossovers, as I am 6'1" and I have a massive head sitting on top of my shoulders. I find myself, especially off to the side, I find myself hitting my head if I sit completely straight up, and then also if I turn my head to look out the window, I sometimes hit my head over here on the downslope of the headliner where your grab handle is going to be. But in the Kona, I do not find that to be an issue. Also, that makes this rear seat so much more comfortable for someone my size is the fact we have a 2-stage recline for the rear seats, and that is adjusted by this handle up here. A little inconvenient to get to if you are sitting down. You're gonna have to bend a little awkwardly. But right now I am on the furthest recline, and if I go ahead and put my head all the way back, you're not even gonna be able to see me because I am reclined. Not often in these cheaper or these compact crossovers that are in the $30,000 range do you get second row vents. But in this limited Kona, you do. You have second row vents back here, and you also have 2 USB-C chargers down here in this storage compartment. Now, if you fold down the armrest, you have a nice padded armrest with 2 cup holders. There is no rubber inserts in there, so it is some slick plastic. So if you put your keys in there, they might move around when going around a corner. You have 1 light back here, handles on each side, and you also have storage pockets on the passenger side, but you do not have a pocket on the driver's side. Now, if we go ahead and open up the rear hatch, button underneath, 1.6 turbo logo over here on the passenger side. Now, if we pop this open, we have 25.5 cubic feet of storage behind the second row. If we pop that down, we get 63.7 cubic feet of storage. Now, this is a dual level floor. Right now we're on the highest setting. Pull this out. Underneath, we do not have a spare tire. We have a tire mobility kit. Let's open this up and see exactly what we have. Tire sealant and an air pump. That is all you get now. There is no full-size spare or even a donut spare in the back of this Kona. But if we go ahead and fold down these 60-40 split rear seats, we're gonna have 63.7 cubic feet of storage when the second row is down. Now that is quite a bit of space. Let me crawl in here and see if I could camp in here. You know what? Definitely would be tight, but I definitely could camp in here. If we take a closer look at the interior, we do have this H-Tech leatherette trim seats. These are one of 2 options for your interior color. You can get black or you can get this gray that we have here. Now, these are leatherette, not a genuine leather. You can see they're perforated on the seat bottom and up the seat back. As these are a ventilated seat, they need those perforations. You can see that the design cue of these 4 dots carries on onto the steering wheel right here. Now, these are 8-way power adjustable, adjustments down here with your lumbar adjustment there. We do have a very small little arm pad here for your elbow to rest on. This is very small in size. Button in the front, pop that open, and that reveals our unconventional glove box and center console setup. We have a removable tray that's very loosely fitted. It's just kind of sits in there, kind of pops in just a little bit, and then just with very little effort, that pops out. Now, as you can see, it flows all the way through. If you remove this piece right here, move that off to the side, and you can even move the cup holders out of the way, move that out of the way, move that out of the way, and you have all this space flowing all the way back in the glove box, or sorry, center console, that you can put items. Now, granted, this is a very slick plastic, so whatever you put in there, it will move around. But if you want to go ahead and pull back your cup holders out, push that button, and they pop out with some power. Now, if we move forward, we have our drive mode select here. We have 2 drive modes. We have normal and sport. As this is the front wheel drive, we do not have any other off-road modes or anything like that. We have our heated seats, our ventilated seat, and our heated steering wheel buttons there. We have our surround view camera button, and then obviously everything else for the passenger side, and our parking sensors on and off. We have our Qi wireless charger. I have my phone on there right now. We have a wireless charging pad there, and I like that this is a nice rubber texture, and it has like a little bit of a retaining wall here. So when you go ahead and put your phone on there, it does stay in there nicely. and it's really hard for it to not charge because it's really only the size of a Max. If you had a non-Max iPhone, it might slide around just a little bit more, but for my phone, it handles it perfectly. You have USB Type-C, and you can choose whether you want to do just charging or do your interface and charging at the same time. Another USB-C that is just a charger, and a 12 volt here that pops out with a push and a spring. We still have physical buttons for the climate control, which is very nice. We have physical buttons for all of this up here, so we go ahead and press map, and that'll take us to our built-in navigation as this vehicle has. Press home and it takes us to the latest infotainment system brought to you by Hyundai. So we go ahead and scroll through this. We have our Apple CarPlay that is wireless, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. If we come over here to our other 12.3 inch display, you can see that we have a very simple design for our driver information display. We have our miles per hour over here and our tachometer over here showing our RPM. Center display is going to be more of your trip information, your telemetry, things like that. But if you don't like this style display, you can go ahead and go into your settings, your screen layout. And if you go ahead and link to drive mode, turn that off, you can go ahead and have many different styles. So if you can see here, I'm going to change it to style A, style B, style C. If you go ahead and go to simple, there's going to be a couple different options there. So it's nice that you can actually change your driver information display layout or kind of your style, your theme, really simply from the settings here inside of your infotainment system. You can change your screensaver, your split screen, just a lot of different options for customizing your layout between your two dual 12.3 inch screens. Now, as I mentioned, Apple CarPlay is standard wireless Apple CarPlay. The screen is very vibrant, very snappy, and it does have a little bit of an anti-glare coating, so it is not going to reflect when sun shines on it. If we zoom on out, let's talk about our steering wheel. Over here on the left side is going to be our adaptive cruise control settings. So we have our follow distance, our lane keep assist, and our cruise control set. Obviously, smart cruise control conditions not met, so it will not do that. We have our up and down menu. We have our scroll wheel for our center display on our driver information display. And on the right side, we have our mode for some custom modes that you can set up inside your settings, as well as your talk to text or your talk recognition, as well as track down, track up, and your volume control over here on the right side of this 3-spoke steering wheel. So this 1.6 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder has been found through a couple different vehicles throughout Kia and Hyundai's lineup, and it is found now in this Kona for the 2024 model year paired to this 8-speed transmission. Now previously it was a dual clutch transmission as well as a CVT, but this vehicle is equipped with the 8-speed paired to this turbocharged 4-cylinder. Now this pair makes for a relatively sporty ride, but I would say in just day-to-day traffic, I do find that the 8-speed transmission is just a little clunky in certain situations. Now, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so good, but it's kind of just hit or miss. It's not consistent. So I can't really say what they could change to make it better, but I find that pulling out onto a highway, just gradual speeds or trying to speed up from 10 miles an hour to 30 miles an hour, sometimes it doesn't know what gear to be in, and it kind of like is jerky in a certain sense. And that's kind of probably one of the reasons why they got rid of the dual clutch transmission is probably the lack of drivability at lower speeds. Now, when you mash the throttle on this, doing a 0 to 60 test or whatever you may be doing, getting onto the highway, on ramp, off ramp, whatever it be, it does handle it very well. It shifts very smooth. It knows what gear it wants to be in when under that full throttle situation. And in terms of the full throttle situation, my 0 to 60 as tested is 7.44 seconds. Now, the caveat to that is that I got that time, I achieved that time by turning traction control off and brake boosting it. Now I did it with the traction control on and not brake boosting it, and it got closer to the 8-second range. Just depends on the surface. Right now it's 70 degrees, dry conditions, so it still chirped those front tires as this is a front wheel drive, and it would cut all power when the traction control was on. But 7.44 seconds is not too shabby for a front wheel drive vehicle, and I would assume that it'd be a little bit faster in the all-wheel drive configuration. And in terms of aggressive braking, I got a 60 to 0 at 140 feet, which is a little bit further than what I've seen other people test it at. But again, it just kind of depends on your road grade, the road conditions, and weather conditions, things of that nature, tire pressure, everything like that. Now, in day-to-day driving, the braking is very pleasant. It's very gradual and confidence-inspiring when you need to put them on aggressively. doing the 60 to 0 test, you're really mashing that pedal, you're feeling the ABS kick in, and you're feeling how the vehicle handles being under such a stressful situation for the chassis. And it just is very flat. It doesn't nosedive all that much. You do feel that the ABS kick in through the brake pedal, which I personally love. I like to be connected to the vehicle in that sense when traction control kicks in or ABS kicks in, whatever scenario you're in. I like to feel what the car is doing. I don't like to be disconnected through the pedals. Now, as I mentioned, this is the front wheel drive version of the Kona. There is the all-wheel drive available, extra $1,500, and that also gets you independent rear suspension rather than this torsion beam that we have here in this vehicle we have right now. This is usually where I test handling characteristics of a vehicle because you can go uphill or downhill. Now, I have driven this road a couple times before filming, and one thing I do notice is when you go around a corner, whether you're going uphill or downhill, and you go into it just a little bit too fast, it does wash out those front wheels, and that's a common characteristic of a front wheel drive vehicle. So if it had all-wheel drive, it'd probably pull me through that corner just a little bit better. I have yet to drive an all-wheel drive Kona, and until I do, I'm going to assume that it's going to handle a little bit better around tight corners like this. But overall, it is very go-kart like, and what I mean by that is it just feels very light, very peppy, and when you turn a corner, if you just stay in it and give it throttle, it's going to pull you through that corner because it is front-wheel drive, so it's driving those front wheels. Now, as if it was rear-wheel drive and it had a lot of power and I started understeering through a corner, there's not a lot of saving that other than letting off the throttle, and that's a whole thing in itself. Overall, handling characteristics, I'm going to put this at a B rating. I do find it very pleasant. Whether that be daily driving or spirited driving, I do find it to be adequate for being a front-wheel drive vehicle. The overall ride quality is excellent. When you aren't thrashing on this thing through corners or you're going on rough roads, on just a common road like we're on right now, it really isn't too shabby. I personally like it a lot. It feels very smooth, and then when you do encounter a little bit of a rougher road, that's where you start to see that it is on the stiff side in terms of overall ride quality, and that can be due in part to the fact that it has that torsion beam rear suspension. If it had the IFS, not only would it handle a little bit better, but it would also have better ride quality. But in terms of the grand scheme of things, I'm going to rate this at an A- for the fact that I enjoy driving this. I'm just cruising along on these backcountry roads. Granted, these are fairly smooth for the Pacific Northwest, but it's not very loud in here. It handles really well. It doesn't modulate too much with the road. It doesn't have very much body roll when you go ahead and turn that wheel, going around corners, up and down hills. It's overall a pleasant experience, and I think Hyundai really knocked it out of the park, giving you the best bang for your buck in terms of handling as well as overall ride quality. Now, the ride quality can be great and all, but if it's loud in here, the ride quality just kind of gets thrown right out the window because you're going to be focused so much on that interior cabin noise. But the Hyundai Kona really handles it very well. I got a 62 decibel reading for my testing, and if you don't watch my other videos, I have a road right outside my house that is very similar to the road conditions that we have here. I set my cruise control at 50 miles an hour on a flat surface, and I hold my decibel meter in between the driver and passenger seat at about head height, sunroof visor closed, and I cruise at 50 miles an hour, and I go ahead and get my max decibel reading, and that is 62 decibels, relatively quiet. Now let's talk about fuel economy, something important to most people. And when you're looking at the subcompact crossover SUV segment, you're not only going to want good value, more space than a car can provide, but you're also going to want some good miles per gallon when you are looking to buy a vehicle, because nowadays there's hybrids and electric vehicles that are going to get you crazy economy, and so you don't want something that's going to get in the teens or the low 20s. Well, this doesn't. This gets you up to 28 miles per gallon combined. And if you want the most miles per gallon, you're going to want to go for the SE or the SEL trim that gets you up to 31 miles per gallon when equipped to the front wheel drive, as it does have a naturally aspirated 2-liter, a CVT transmission that's going to be a little bit better on gas in some situations. But in terms of fuel economy, the SE front wheel drive with that CVT is going to get you 31 miles per gallon. This is going to get you 28 miles per gallon combined. Now, overall, not too shabby, but when you're looking at this vehicle compared to its competitors, it has some work to do, as some of its competitors get up to 31, 32 miles per gallon, and this is stuck down there at 28. And then when you equip it with the all-wheel drive, I mean, forget about it. Now, the Limited does come standard with the premium sound system, which is a 8-speaker Bose premium sound. Now, it does have a designated amplifier as well as subwoofer, and I do find it to be adequate for this size of vehicle. I sometimes find that Bose can be a little bit bass overpowering. In this vehicle, it seems very well balanced, whether it's speaker placement, door panel, materials. all of those things combined, I do find that this package in the 8-speaker Bose premium sound, I do find it to be a very good system for the price too. I mean, thinking about $32,000, you're getting 8-speaker Bose premium sound, you're getting all this technology, decent fuel economy, leatherette trim seats, heated and cool seats, heated steering wheel, all of these amenities, and not even mentioning safety in terms of adaptive cruise control, the highway driver assist, and things like that. This vehicle is just a great value, and when you talk about speakers, this has all of them that you would ever need in a vehicle of this size. If you're searching for your next vehicle within the subcompact crossover segment, there are plenty of fantastic options. Whether it's fuel efficiency or off-road pedigree, anything in between, there are options for you, but we're just going to talk about a couple to compare to the Kona. So starting off with pricing, the Kona is going to start out at $25,745 for the SE front-wheel drive, topping out at $33,000 to $35,000 for the limited all-wheel drive. You're going to be looking at that $35,000 price point if you wanted to fully load it with the all-wheel drive platform and destination included. Now, the Kona also offers a fully electric platform, as does the competitor, the Kia Niro. Now, the SE is going to be about a $7,000 premium over the gas Kona. So it's going to start out at $32,875 with maxing out over $42,000 for a fully loaded limited trim. Now, the Kia Niro offers a mild hybrid as its base powertrain, offering better fuel economy, but it does come with a higher price tag, starting out at $28,365 and topping out with the SX Touring at $37,000. Now, it gets incrementally more expensive if you want to go for the plug-in hybrid or even a fully electric, with the fully electric, fully loaded top trim being over $47,000. So quite a bit more expensive, but it's definitely going to offer you a little bit of a different feel than what the Hyundai Kona has to offer. Now, if you wanted to go for a more domestic route, you have a couple of options such as the Chevy Trailblazer or even the Buick Encore GX. Now, the Trailblazer is pretty competitive in pricing compared to the Kona, with its base LS front-wheel drive starting out at $24,395. Now, the top trim RS with the all-wheel drive drivetrain is $36,215 with destination and options included. Now, if you wanted to go for the more premium feel, the Buick has that to offer, but it's going to come with a price tag, with the preferred front-wheel drive starting out at $26,895 and the Avenir all-wheel drive with all of the options included, just giving you the most luxury possible in the domestic route. You're going to be looking at $40,525. Now, the Buick as well as the Chevy offer very similar fuel economy to what the Kona has to offer, while the Kia Niro, as it is a mild hybrid system to start, is going to offer better fuel economy. So fuel efficiency at the top of your list, the Kia Niro might be the car for you. Now, if you compare these vehicles a little bit closer side by side, starting off with the Kona versus the Niro, I personally would take the Kona over the Niro due to the fact that I like the exterior styling as well as interior technology. The exterior on the Kona is just a little bit more future forward for me. I like that light bar design in the front as well as the simplistic design out back. The Niro offers a little bit more of, I don't know, weird design where the headlights are down below. It's just, I don't like that little like rear quarter panel design. That's just me personally. It is really up to you, the buyer, on which one you prefer. Now, things that aren't preferential, the Kona does offer bigger real estate on the screen for the infotainment system, 12.3 inches versus 10.25, so the technology is going to be a tad bit better in the Kona. Now, the Niro does inch out the Kona for interior comfort, as it does offer Syntex material at a lower trim level, as well as having a 10-way power adjustable option versus the 8-way you're going to find in the Kona. The Kona does find its stride when it comes to performance, as it does offer up to 190 horsepower and the optional all-wheel drive, whereas the Niro doesn't get anywhere near that in horsepower and is only offered in a front-wheel drive platform. Now, the Niro does blow the Kona out of the water when it comes to the efficiency standpoint, getting you up to 53 miles per gallon. And that's just going to be exponentially more than what you're going to find in the Kona. So it really is up to you, the buyer, which one you prefer, and leave a comment down below what you like between the Kona as well as the Niro. If we look at the Kona versus the Trailblazer, the exterior design is definitely going to be more polarizing on the Kona versus the Trailblazer's more modern design, a little bit more suitable for someone that wants to find a vehicle that looks like everything else on the road. Now, I don't want that to sound like a bad thing, because I do have to say the Trailblazer is a fantastic looking vehicle, especially when you pair it with the right color and you go to, let's say, the RS rest trim that gives you those gloss black accents. Now when you jump onto the interior, the technology is going to be a little bit better found in the Kona, as it does have the optional dual 12.3-inch screens, and the Trailblazer only offers a max 8-inch driver information display and a max 11-inch infotainment screen. Now the Kona, as with that being mentioned on the technology side, is going to offer the better bang for your buck. That technology is going to be a little bit better, and it's going to come in a little bit quicker in terms of where it is found in the trim levels than what you're going to find in the Trailblazer. So Kona is going to offer a better bang for your buck. Now the Trailblazer offers off-road tuned suspension, whereas the Kona does not. And in terms of driving dynamics, it's going to be a little bit of a different characteristics in those two senses. But overall, just a car in general, I find that the Kona is going to be a little bit more sporty feeling than what the Trailblazer has to offer, but special offerings with that off-road tuned suspension might just suit your needs a little bit better. So the Trailblazer might be the best option for you. Now in terms of efficiency, I would have to say they're pretty dead nuts even. The Kona in the all-wheel drive platform offers 26 to 28 miles per gallon combined, whereas the Trailblazer is going to be 27 miles per gallon. Last but not least, Kona versus Encore. Now styling wise, I would take the Kona all day. I like what Buick has done, I see what they're trying to do, but personally, I just don't find it to be that attractive of an exterior. Whether it be the front end or the back end, I just think it's slightly off. I'm not quite sure what it is about it, maybe the headlights or the lighting situation. I just don't love the exterior design on the Encore, but that's obviously up to you, the end buyer, what you prefer. Now in technology, the interior on the Kona is going to offer more screen real estate thanks to that dual 12.3-inch screen, whereas an 11-inch infotainment is going to be the max screen size you're going to find on the Encore. Now, if you wanted those creature comforts such as power seats or even heated seats, finding it on the Kona is going to save you about $5,000. If you want heated seats, it's going to cost you that extra $5,000 to find it on the Encore. Now that also brings me to a good point, whereas the pricing is going to be cheaper on the Kona, whether you go for a base or a top trim, you're going to find about $5,000 in savings for a fully loaded Kona versus a fully loaded Encore. Now the Kona does offer a better horsepower at 190 optional horsepower, but the Buick does offer standard 4-way independent suspension, whether it is front wheel drive or all wheel drive, whereas the Kona is going to have torsion beam for those front wheel drive models. Now in terms of efficiency, you're looking at about 1 mile per gallon better on the Kona, so that is really kind of a toss-up. That's not too much of a savings, and it does depend on what trim you go for with the Kona as well as the Encore, but you're going to save about 1 mile per gallon going with the Kona. Now, as you guys are probably catching on by now, I love the exterior designs of the Hyundai Kona. I love the futuristic design, especially when paired to certain colors that there are to offer. It's just a striking vehicle, and it really sets itself apart from other vehicles out on the road, and especially within this segment. I love the interior technology that is offered. The dual 12.3-inch screens really just inches out over the competitors. I love the creature comforts, the amenities that are available, and really just the bang for your buck that Kia as well as Hyundai have to offer in their vehicles recently. I love the value that you get out of these vehicles. Now, if this is something that you enjoy, or this vehicle is something that strikes you as a potential next vehicle, leave a comment down below what you think. Do you like the Kona? Do you hate the Kona? Or are you indifferent? Do you not really care for the design? But that is going to do it for my time with the Hyundai Kona. I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to get my hands on the fully electric Kona here in the near future. But that is going to do it for my time. My name is Nick with Auto Buyer's Guide, and until the next video, I will see you guys then.